Project setup for field engineers. Construction startup checklist, first 30 days. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how a field engineer will approach a new project and literally get everything set up in the first 30 days. Now, I don't mean the first 30 days of the construction project starting. I mean the first 30 days of the field engineers being there, which means that if you're going to start, I'm just going to make up these dates. If you're going to start in December and you want to have a good primary and secondary working control system for December, then you should have those up in November. You should probably have field engineers on site in October. And so that first 30 days is what I'm talking about, which is typically about 2 months before the project starts, at least. If you have a mega project and a lot more lift drawings and you're doing self-performed concrete, you might want them there even farther ahead. But we use field engineers for self-performed and non-self-performed projects, and it's remarkable. Having them is not primarily about survey or lift drawings. Having field engineers is about building our future builders. And if we skip this step, we hurt the person. And we get the benefit of the survey, lift drawings, and frontline safety and quality management. So I've got a list here to save us time. I'm going to talk to you about each one of these one by one. What I'm talking about here is getting the project ready for the field engineering program. So number one, your startup schedule. When you grab the macro level TAC plan or the norm level TAC plan or the construction schedule, you have that from the project delivery team and the superintendent. Then what you want to do is take these items and literally plan out when you want each of these things up and running so that your primary, secondary, and working control and your first lift drawings and your program is ready to go for your first trades. Because remember, field engineers enable the foremen and the workers, the crews. Well, let me just say this. The industry is going back to field engineering, but it needs to go faster. And because for a while we didn't have them, because there was this misconception that you only need field engineers for self-perform, what happened is other techniques are popping up. Like advanced work packaging will say, you need to have work face planners to plan the work for the foreman and the crews sitting in an office. No, 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 no. We do not do that. Field engineers with superintendents, especially assistant superintendents, do that with control, with lift drawings, helping them with information, providing an open area, and working with them shoulder to shoulder. We do not delegate the preparation of work to work face planners in an office. It's field engineers and assistant superintendents. But the first thing you do is get your startup schedule put together. The second thing that I want you to do is put together a site logistics drawing. And what this is with the superintendent and the project team is a map showing where your office trailers, your connexes, your staging, your crewing areas, your morning worker huddles, your dojo, your temp power, your temp water, your hoist, your crane, your scrap outs, your access ways, your craft bathrooms that are custom built, all of these things. This is going to show where everything is going to go. And in case you're like, Jason, why would this be one of the first things that you do? It's because we have to design our primary, secondary, and working control around it. There's no point in putting a point somewhere and then the superintendent just dumping a connex right on the top of it. It's just not very practical. So eventually you are going to go out there and create a primary control network. Primary control is permanent. It surrounds the building and it enables all other layouts. Secondary control is typically a baseline intersecting corners, intersecting baselines, intersecting inside baselines, or a box with offsets around your building, but it's building specific. And this is called secondary control. It allows you to basically build the building. It's temporary and it's building specific. Then working control is as if you put grid lines on the slab and then you laid out a column. Those are temporary lines for building components. So you got primary, secondary, and working control. So you don't want to put any of these points anywhere where the site logistics are, and that's why site logistics is the second thing that I recommend you do during startup. Now, the other thing here, utilities. This is crucial, and I need you to pay attention because this could make or break you when it comes to safety. What you need to do is go out and do your blue stake. I'll just mark these as different steps. Once you do your blue stake, you're going to do a private utility locator. That means they're going to go out there and in addition to blue stake, find anything underground. Then step number 3, you're going to pothole. Then step number 4, you are going to either with a surveyor or yourself yourself with your field engineers, as-built those intersections and know their depths. Step number 5, you're going to create a drawing for any underground utilities so that you know with real points, real scale, where everything is on the site. That way when you go do your dig permits and a trade wants to go dig, you can do blue stake, and then you can also lay out anything else that may not be referenced to blue stake. You can literally be safe and hand dig or do vacuum trucks near the utilities and not have utility strikes. So this is important because additionally, not only do you want to be safe, but if you have different utilities or new utilities in there, you don't want to put your points there as well. So those are crucial things that you have to do to set up your system. Now later we'll get into you actually doing your primary, secondary working control, but for now we're just setting you up. That was number 3. Number 4, you're going to order your equipment. Now this might seem self-explanatory and you're like, Jay Money, why are you putting it in a video? But I've got to make sure that you're ordering the right stuff to spec, and I want you to have a 3-second total station or better, and I want you to have a decent enough automatic level to where you only have roughly 1/8 of an inch error in at least 100 feet, but I prefer 200 feet, and you have really good optics on your automatic levels. And so what I want you to do is go get your survey equipment. I want you to go to Home Depot like it's Black Friday and get your bags. I want you to get your consumables. You know, you're going to talk about your lath, your hubs, your 60 penny nails, your whiskers. You're going to get your computers, which we'll talk about in a minute. You're going to get all decked out so that you have all of the equipment, anything that you need to go do your job. The other thing that I want you to do is take photos. I won't draw a sketch of this, but you need to take photos not only to document survey, but also to document the condition of the site. This is standard. It was always standard at Hensel Phelps. It should be standard on every job. Now, the FE bullpen, where are you going to take this genius and all this awesomeness? You're going to do it in an open office space in the trailer. So you'll have different desks. I prefer that these desks are vertical to where you can stand or sit with plan table chairs, but you're going to have an open office space where you have visual schedules, and this is called the FE bullpen. Now this FE bullpen is crucial, and you might think to yourself, why do we FEs get out in the open in some kind of ratty conditions? No. Your whole job site team should be in an open office space. They're just getting too arrogant or too stuffy, and they ask for their own offices. They're in an ivory castle now. They're disconnected, they're losing trust, and it's hurting the overall team. You do not want offices. It is a blessing that you're out in the open. Set up your office so that you have visual communication systems and you have a place to house everything. This is going to be a little bit longer video. Once you have your office, the other thing is, like, let's say this is your office trailer. I want you to have a testing area. You've got to have a testing, so you can test your prism pole inside the office, but you've got to have a sidewalk where you can test your chain. You've got to have 2 poles somewhere where you can peg your levels and make sure that they're good to go. Okay, you've got to have a different area so that you can test your lasers, your automatic levels, your total stations, your chains, your tapes, and your tribracks. Tribracks will usually come, half of the time they come out wrong. You've got to have a testing and calibration area for your project site in order for you to make sure this stuff is correct. The other thing is, don't skimp out on computers and apps. If somebody's like, oh, you're just a field engineer, you don't get a second screen. Well, you better be careful, because these folks are controlling the location of your building and the location of your components. Most of the time, field engineers need a nice open desk area, the place for their drawings to the left, and 2 screens. And make sure you have a computer that's powerful enough to run AutoCAD and Revit. Now, the last thing that I'll say is, at this point, you need to make sure everybody on your field engineering team has read chapters 1 through 8 in version 3 of the Field Engineering Methods Manual, and all of version 4, book 1 of the 4th update that we're putting out in the next couple of months, so that all of the field engineers have, I'm going to call it a baseline, not scheduling baseline, but a baseline understanding of what a field engineer does. And if you have these key components, you are ready to go and you're ready to jam. And so I want to recommend this to you. I'll put this into a blog post as well. And in that blog post, you can reference the information. It will also go in our new book, Elevating Construction Field Engineers. And if you ever need help, just reach out. We're experts at this. But I hope you've loved this video. On we go.